All right, what is going on, Ravens flock? And welcome back here again to another episode of the Ravens Way podcast. Joining me as always is Voss, and then we have reoccurring guest Jason, HuddleItUpFilms. How we doing? How we feeling?
Feeling great. Great week to be in Baltimore. Great win. Exciting game coming up and opportunity knocking. You look at the other games that our divisional foes have. This could be a big week for the Ravens.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us, Jason. A good buddy of ours. Really appreciate the time. Number one DVOA performance in Ravens history catapults them up into the number one spot on the DVOA rankings. So, just a total Baltimore beatdown and takeaways. What are we taking away? Had a couple days to digest it here.
Jason, I'll let the guest go first. Be polite.
Yeah, for me, it was just nice to have a relaxing game. And something else that stuck out to me is that the roles that these players are playing, I feel like, especially on defense, we're finding our way. It's surprising to me. I would not have guessed that Brandon Stephens is settled in at right cornerback. I've always thought that was his best position, but of course, that's also Marlon's best position. Just out there on the boundary by himself. For some reason, that suits him. He's got the size. He's got the speed for it. It's a physical position that Brandon can handle. And when Marlon came back to stick him on the left side, that surprised me. But it's turning out to be a good move. I just like the way the roles are filling out on defense. It seems like we found our way. And then on offense, it just goes to show it doesn't have to be perfect for the results to look darn near perfect. When you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, a lot was made this week about, okay, the Kurt Warner and the offense wasn't all in schedule all the time. It wasn't as dominant as it looked. But when you have a quarterback who can create off schedule when the first play breaks down, it's just extra points. It's bonus points. So I never want to go back to a statue quarterback, even after Lamar is done retired and not here anymore. Just having somebody who can make something out of nothing really stood out. I mean, heck, we saw it with the Titans when Tannehill got knocked out. Malik Willis is overwhelmed. He's not ready to play, but he still was able to pick up first downs with his legs when things broke down. And that part of the game, I think, will help the Ravens come when things aren't working and things aren't perfect, or we're just having an off day against a tough team.
Definitely. I would agree with that. A lot of, I guess, offensively, the takeaway, and I agree to an extent of what Kurt was saying. That's kind of like the big talk this week is like Kurt Warner's opinion on the Ravens offense. But I also think that the Ravens offense kind of like probably for a while until everything is really, really going and all is in cohesiveness is probably going to be just keeping it clean, keeping Lamar protected and just let him make plays. Which I'm fine with. And there's also a lot of good things they do that are structured, like the I think I have a clip of it here in the slideshow upcoming. But like some of the play action boot stuff they have with Mark Andrews coming across, they have they had a lot of good plays, crossers, drags that are quote unquote West Coast type of schematics that I think they do good in structure, and then. There's other plays where you just kind of like, the play breaks down. Maybe it's not the best call. Maybe the space isn't great. And you just kind of keep Lamar clean and let him make the decision himself because he's an NFL quarterback paid $260 million. So, and then defensively, the only takeaway I have, because we really did hold the Lions the defensive line looks great, especially against that pass protection unit. I think they were down starting guard Glasgow. I think they were down one. But overall, I feel really good about the defensive line heading into the next weekend and weeks on. But the only takeaway I have is that this is weird. Arthur Mollett is a sicko. Like he really is a football sicko. Like it's so weird to see someone. I'm like, this guy came from Pittsburgh. He's played a bunch of special teams. You think he's just a guy, and I mean, sure, in a sense he is, but at the same time, like he just plays like this weird sick mentality, and I really like it. And I just wish he was like 23 years old. He could be like a long time, like low end starter type, just because with the intensity he plays, it really is good to see.
Very good. I'll just give some top line thoughts because I don't want to step on the film review. First of all, really good to see Terrell Suggs get his purple jacket. Just a class act. One of our favorites. Really a guy that made the Ravens who they are. It's also very satisfying to see the offense come together. It just seemed like maybe they weren't firing on all cylinders necessarily, but you had, play calling married with tempo, married with deception, married with Lamar's improbability. You had some pretty good yak out of some of the players, and just Lamar really, really manipulating the pocket to, that second touchdown he had where he just bought that time. That was, one of those where you just really smile about it. On defense, I think it's really strong. As Jason said, Brandon Stevens really, really stepping up. That's probably been the biggest breakout player through the first 7 games, I would say. And they're leading the league in sacks, not because of an apex pass rusher necessarily. It's just a sum of the parts pass rush. So just good vibes all around. It's just all coming together now, it seems. The key now is being more consistent with these advantages they have. I think they have a championship caliber coordinator pairing. I think Monken and McDonald are head and shoulders, above most teams and maybe the best tandem duo in the entire league. And according to some metrics, the Ravens now have the second best odds to earn the AFC's number 1 seed. So just really good all the way around.
Definitely, yeah. I'm feeling really good about the team, and I guess the takeaway I would have for the Lions side is like, and I got to do, I talked about this a lot on the
Lions
on the preview show last week, so I might have to do a little bit of flag waving here. The Lions just couldn't really match up with any of the Ravens receivers. Period. Like, they don't have the outside corner talent, and they have a very basic scheme as well. They really don't run anything too difficult to kind of throw anybody off. They just line up and play. And when you line up and play and you don't really have talented corners, you're gonna get exposed. And the Ravens did a lot of exposing this past Sunday. And Odell Beckham looks good, and kind of get into it. We'll get into it in the film review, but Odell Beckham looked more fluid. I think Bateman looked more fluid. In their routes, in their pacing, I think they look good, and that's a good sign for weeks to come. But on the Lions side, that is a fraudulent football team. I have to say, in my opinion, I just think that the talent deficiency that they have, that was kind of masked by coaching over the first couple of weeks, kind of showed itself. And I pointed to the Seahawks game that we know, another upcoming opponent we have, where the Seahawks went to overtime, but Seahawks put up 37 points on them. That's it's a lot of points to be had. So if you're a Lions fan, we'll root for you on Thanksgiving, and yeah.
They're the 2017 Ravens. Just hard-nosed team that just doesn't quite have enough talent. That's what I see them.
What they remind me of, Voss, is a lot of the Titans teams where they won't beat themselves. They're well coached. They have a high floor, say, but the ceiling is low. If they can take advantage and just beat down lesser teams or teams of equal talent, not making mistakes, playing tough, fundamentally sound. But when you're going up against a dynamic team, and we've seen that with some of the Tennessee teams where the score gets out of hand, and Detroit needs a new secondary. They have the nice pieces, everywhere. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is excellent, and his chemistry with Goff is very evident. But if you look at this, they need multiple pieces in that secondary. Some guys they can match up with speed, some guys they can match up with route running. So I think Detroit will find its level. It's a playoff team. It's not in a very strong division. They can beat the Bears. They can beat the Packers. They can beat the Vikings. But I would say it's a building process for this version of this Lions team. Reminds me of like the Jeff Fisher's 8-8 Titans back in the day. This is just in a weaker division. Look for the Lions to win 10 or 11 games, make the playoffs, win a game, and then probably come up against a more dynamic team and lose, and they'll have something great to build on for next year. So I don't want to talk all bad about the Lions, but you saw that they were overmatched in this game. I mean, what we had 28 points before they got a first down, something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty
exactly.
ridiculous.
That's the definition of a boat race. 28 points before they got a first down. That's I hope we can do that every game. But
it warmed my soul.
They're on the come up, but they're not there yet. And I wouldn't get too cocky about the Ravens putting the smackdown on them. But when you look around the league, there's not a whole lot of teams that are better than the Ravens either. Maybe not. So anyway, Yuri, you want to lead us into the film review?
Yeah, so we'll go ahead. You gotta pop yourself in there.
I got you.
But yeah, I mean,
all right.
It is what it is. It's all right though. They'll definitely have a top 6 overall draft pick next year.
All right. So Yuri's all 22 film review.
See what you got. See what you got.
Hey, look, I still haven't figured out how to clip these together and just like not do slides. I don't know what I'm doing with that.
Yeah, when you figure that out, just that'd be good because I'm still not good at going to the next slide.
Hey, get with me. I'll help you out with a little of that.
All right, I try to click over here and this and that, and anyway, first clip here we have a play action pass to Andrews. Go ahead and break it down for us.
Yeah, so this was the one I was talking about earlier with the slide boot action. I don't know how much of this with like the reason why I like this so much is like the backside tight end motioning over with you and kind of like being that little security blanket. That's really fun to me. And then you always have like it's kind of I think sometimes it's called waggle, sometimes it's called boot, but you have the crosser kind of clearing out the middle of the field. Then you'll have the outside wide receiver kind of running a little bit of a corner. It'll sometimes be a post corner. I really like that concept because it creates conflict. It creates conflict with the edge rusher. It creates conflict over the middle of the field. And then it kind of gives you multiple options. And it's almost like it eliminates half the field, but it's not to the sense where it's detrimental. So that's why I highlight this play. Obviously, a nice play by Andrews to get to the end zone and go dive for the pylon.
And I think that the Lions linebackers, if you watch 55 and 46 here, they do a pretty good job. They're not biting. If you watch the very beginning of the play, they're not going all out to bite to follow Justice Hill. They're kind of maintaining and eyes on Lamar here. So if you watch the linebackers, a couple of steps in that direction, but they're not selling. I think both of them do a really good job. And something that I wish we had a little bit more pre-snap on this play, because I believe the Ravens ran up to the line and ran this.
That was a tempo play. Yep, exactly.
They sped up the tempo, and that's something that I love that Todd Monken is doing is he's messing with the tempo. You run up to the line, and it's kind of obvious because the guys usually jog out to their positions. Everybody kind of ran up to the line, creates confusion, and that extra second on plays like this, Yuri, make a big difference because it's not a fancy play. But the Lions aren't playing this poorly. We have them in a bind here. We have them in a bind. If you follow Andrews too closely, Lamar is going to take off, and it's still going to be a gainer. So just a nice simple play, but I think the tempo really set that one off.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I highlighted it, because it's not this crazy concept. It's a very simple, simplistic NFL level concept.
But that's what the problem was coming into this game. For the last 2 games was red zone efficiency, punching it in, and you don't have to get fancy if you have good players. So let's go to the next one here. We have a little Rashad Bateman comeback.
Yeah, so this was me highlighting Rashad Bateman looking a lot more fluid. In weeks prior, it was weird watching him. Like he was open, but it doesn't look like he was quick as he used to be, and a little bit of that Liz Frank and a little bit of missing practice time. And now you're starting to see Rashad Bateman look really, really fluid, looking fast. There's been other people who have highlighted outside of just myself. And I thought this was just a really nice, crisp route, just kind of get him a little involved. He got involved twice on this drive. And there was a nice, I was at the stadium. There was a nice, nice round of applause for him. So, good to get him, hopefully all the stuff that happened off the field is he's good. And, really do feel for the guy. So I really do like him, one, getting involved, and two, him looking so fluid. I think that bodes very well for the Ravens offense.
And the thing that I want to point out on this play is Bateman's effort. Because if you look at the beginning of the play, Lamar's head is turned to that left side. It's obvious that he's reading, this is strong side left. So he's reading the strong side of the field it's a 2x2 set, but all the action is going to be flowing to that left side. So you see all the options Lamar has on the left. Bateman is working his butt off, even though he's last in that progression, running the route full speed, getting the cornerback to turn his hips, breaking it off at the right time. And just what a throw by Lamar. I mean, this is high level stuff, I can't believe Lamar didn't play baseball, because this is a throw that you would see a shortstop or a second baseman make when he doesn't have time to really turn his hips and set his feet, and just flings that ball out there. It's 20 plus yards if you count the width of it, not just down the field, but the width of it. But yeah, Bateman being late in the progression and not giving up on that is a great sign. Bateman's head is in the game. Love that.
No question about it. I've mentioned that several times. I think he is the key to getting the offense into the sixth gear. And we saw that on that second drive there. He's going to be a factor. If the Ravens are going to make a run in the postseason, he's going to have a couple clutch plays. I guarantee you that. Third play here is Keaton Mitchell's first NFL touch.
Yeah, I had to involve it. There's been a lot of discussion about running back and all this, and unfortunately, he did practice today, so maybe things are looking up and the injury wasn't that bad. But this was a really nice concept of how once and we've highlighted here on previous weeks of Zay Flowers' motion conflicting linebackers over the middle of the field and watching how well it makes the defense flow. And there was other plays in this game where it happened, where Zay Flowers went in motion and the defense flowed a lot. But I thought this was a nice little bit of, and it kind of seems like as the weeks go on, Monken's starting to bring out a little bit of the bag of tricks and interesting play designs and things that are starting to get a little more creative while keeping some of the simplistic stuff in there. So I thought this was a really nice creative play. And I also thought Keaton Mitchell, he ran a 4.38, I think, out at the combine. And I'm like, maybe sometimes it's there's on-field speed, there's track speed, but he does look like a fast football player. That was something else. And also, you gotta love. I ran and during high school, and maybe another reason why I highlight this is I ran as the wing on the offense. I love wing pitches. They're so fun to me, just to be the wing back out on the edge and then come back through and take it through. It's such a beautiful play to me.
And again, I don't see a lack of Coach Dan Campbell of the Lions pointed to lack of discipline, and I don't see a lot of that here. You can see the Lions defender staying backside, being wary of Keaton Mitchell. The play design, though, great play design. It's something that I would not run again until I had to. It's nice that they showed that. But, man, this looks like a go-to play when you really need some yards. And Keaton Mitchell, part of the running back talk, and one of the reasons I think I'm against Voss, well, I would like to see us add depth at running back, is that, again,
I'll save for the next segment, Jason.
I know my coach, Coach Harbaugh, and Coach Harbaugh does not seem to trust rookie backs. He does not seem to trust smaller backs. I would love to see Keaton Mitchell more involved in this offense, because I want to see him doing stuff like this and allow Zay to be more of a pure wide receiver. So I love to see Keaton make that cut right there. He really, close to being a house call. So hopefully this can springboard Keaton into getting, 2-3 touches a game and build the coach's confidence.
Yeah, to Jason's point, it's not a matter of execution. It's a matter of having better players and better play designs. So, it's great to see that the Ravens are in position to be able to do some of this, some of these elements that put defenses on their heels. Next play up here, we have the Nigerian connection, the Matabike Owe strip sack combination. Nigerians are taking over a lot of sports, for the record. Anyway, my son's flag football team, the best player is his dad, good friend of mine. He's from Nigeria. So anyway, Break it down for us, Shorty.
Yeah, so obviously Odafe Owe back from the ankle injury, and throughout this game, his ankle looked fine. I saw him jump off of it to try and knock down a pass. So that's good to see. You're starting to see his move. Coach Chuck Smith talked about it in the offseason. What's his move going to be? You're going to know his signature move. I think we know it by now. It's a swim move, and he is really good at it. And that also is Penei Sewell right there, if I'm not mistaken. That he just beat. So pretty good talented offensive tackle in the NFL. So you got to feel good about that. You got to feel good about Madubuike going out there and just wreaking havoc the past 2 weeks of probably all pro play. Like if you constrained it down to 2 weeks, like this has been the best 2 games of his career, in my opinion. And you add that on top of Owe. Owe, who's playing really well. Obviously, he's been out, but week 1 he looked great, and now in this week he had 5 pressures as well. So good to see, and I feel really good about this too.
Owe on this play, I do think the swim, and was something that we saw a little bit last year when he slid inside the guard, that he had a good swim move to get skinny. So I do see that, and really the first game that what stuck out to me was his spin. So now he's got 2 ways that he can go. In other words, if Penei Sewell really sets that edge and comes out further towards the opposite goalpost, Owe can spin inside and beat him there too. So it's great to see. But this play is made by Madubuike. Voss, if you look at the end zone angle, Madubuike is really setting a pick for Michael Pierce. So if you can just when Madubuike makes contact, first contact here, if you could pause it there, there. He's trying to clear a way for Michael Pierce to come around, but he's still so slippery. And he's going to power through it. This is not a token effort by Madubuike just setting Michael Pierce up. He is actually, even though the rush is designed for Pierce, he is just too talented, too strong. And look at the position the right guard is in. I mean, he's not blocking anybody at this point. He can't hold on to Madubuike. He has no shot at Michael Pierce. So this play is made by Justin Madubuike. Fun part about this play is how much of a freak Penei Sewell is to pick this ball up with one hand like it's nothing. We see people struggle to pick up fumbles. Watch what he does after this, Voss. I just can't get over what
I know. If Hamilton doesn't get him, he might go about 40 yards.
It's cut off, but yeah, you guys have seen the tape. He just basically picks that thing up like it's a tennis ball. Like imagine how big that guy's hands are.
There it is right there.
Yeah.
If Hamilton doesn't take him down, he might be. I don't think Brandon Stevens is bringing him down.
No, and the play was dead, so it was all for naught. But I did find that pretty freakish when I was watching that. It was one of those things I almost put out on Twitter just because it cracked me up. I mean, he just picked that thing up like I would pick up a tennis ball. But NFL footballs are bigger than people think.
Yeah. And these guys have bigger hands than people think. I've shook Haloti Ngata's hand, and I think it was about 3 times as big as mine. And my hands are not huge, but they're not tiny either. So this is a play that's garnered a lot of attention. A little bit of the Rex Ryan drop your defensive lineman, send a slot blitz, and Mollett gets home.
Yeah, so what I was talking about earlier was like Arthur Mollett being a psycho. Just after the play, like watching him just throw his hands up in the air and just kick the air, like the intent. Well, obviously it's a very well, and we talked about it. Golf, if you pressure Golf and you throw confusing looks at Golf, he will crumble. It just happens. It's the nature of how he is as a quarterback. And obviously here, Mike McDonald drops a couple defensive linemen back, replaces it with a linebacker blitz and a slot blitz. Once again, Mike McDonald is probably the best defensive coordinator in the league right now. I don't think that's me being biased. I just genuinely think with everything that has happened and the way he sets up his team and sets them up to make plays and puts them in good spots, you really got to feel good about where the Ravens are defensively, even though they have played maybe not the greatest arsenal of quarterbacks so far. But once again, just Arthur Mollett is he just is like, and maybe it's just me, maybe I have like an affinity towards like players celebrating afterwards, But sometimes players get up, they show no emotion, but like he is like all emotion, all the way
It's like
forward.
Tavon. He
Yeah,
like plays like
the
Tavon.
exactly, and the switch for him is always on. And there was another play where he was on a Monter St. Brown as well, and he guarded him pretty well and forced him to the outside, and then the ball was incomplete. So just think he's playing really well. And once again, good play call.
So what I love about this play, guys, is Vasa from this angle is Kyle Van Noy. We'll go back to the other angle, but Van Noy is playing team defense here, and what he's doing is nothing special, and it wouldn't stand out to somebody who didn't. But if he perfectly froze right there, he's ready to hold. He is ready to hold on to the left tackle Taylor Decker to make sure that Millette gets home. There is going to be no getting off of Kyle Van Noy to go block the open blitzer. So if you could just play that back one more time, you can see Van Noy's approach into just get to the guy and make sure he can't disengage in you from you. So if you play it back from the end zone angle one more time,
There we go.
I just want to watch it full speed with Van Noy. Let me just get to Taylor Decker and hold him.
Boom.
So it's the small things that you have to get guys to buy in. And then from this angle, Kyle Hamilton and Brandon Stevens, they know that the blitz is going to get home. And you can see them drive. As soon as the receivers break, they are going to drive to where if Goff wants to force this thing, it's going to be 6 the other way. So again, you have everybody playing as a unit here. Van Noy freeing up Millette, but also those DBs. If you can watch Brandon Stevens at the top and Kyle Hamilton, as soon as the receivers break, they're breaking. So they know if Millette doesn't get home or if the play's extended, they're all over those receivers. And also Travis Jones, 98, taking the correct angle here just to take away any kind of quick slant coming over the middle or crosser.
What a value DaCosta found with both Clowney and Van Noy. I mean, that's, we had a little bit of consternation about where's the pass rush coming from. And you get two guys that are playing at a Pro Bowl level for $3 million combined or $3.5 million. That's pretty damn good. So now we're going to see, I believe Yuri put this one in because he's highlighting Marlon Humphrey's return to form.
Not actually necessarily. Well, I wasn't looking at that. But I was looking at Colin Hamilton matching on Sam Laporta here. I thought that he broke pretty well on the there right there. Yep. I thought he broke very well on the out route, being able to stay in phase and drive on the ball. He's in position. Goff has to put it somewhere where only Laporta can get it, and it just doesn't happen. And Hamilton's right on his hip. I had to put a play in there. I just thought it was really, really good to see Hamilton be able to match up on a tight end and pretty much erase him for what was 3 quarters, I would say, until it turned into garbage time passing. And I kind of made a point here. And once again, maybe it's the fact that I have bought, and we were talking about pre-show, I have bought 2 jerseys in my life. One was Jimmy Smith. The other one's Kyle Hamilton. And I'm really starting to believe in the young guy, believing in Hamilton, and getting ahead of myself a little bit. I just want to see him and Travis Kelce match up and see what happens. That's all I want to do. I just want to see what happens. It probably won't go our way because Kelce's definitely a Hall of Famer. But I just want to see what happens.
Typecast. You like long defensive backs. You're typecast now. Now I know what to buy you in 5 years for Christmas.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Ravens do when Marcus Williams is healthy, because Gino's playing lights out. Kyle's playing lights out. Kyle's a lights out player, whether he's on that day or not. But you said it, man. Erasing tight ends. I mean, there's really not. I think that he's the perfect kind of guy to match up with Kelce because he's so tall. And these tight ends that have the height advantage and the chemistry that Mahomes and Kelce has. I mean, you're not going to shut a guy like Kelce out, of course, but how many times, even when the Ravens played them and they had Tyreek Hill, it was, Tyreek Hill made his plays, but when it was 3rd and whatever in the middle of the second quarter, it was Mahomes to Kelce. So if you keep Kyle at strong safety, you're going to have him being able to match up on these tight ends. If you put him in the slot, he's going to be more at level 2. Both places he can blitz from, both places he's going to be in run support, a heavy part of run support. But yeah, there's our buddy Garnett. How you doing, sir? It's great to see you. This guy is a weapon. Probably my favorite player to watch on defense, and that's a defense that includes Roquan Smith. So that's really saying something. But what do the Ravens do, guys, when Marcus Williams is healthy, Geno Stone's healthy, Kyle Hamilton's healthy, and Millette here is matching up really well in the slot on some of these smaller receivers, man. I mean, it's going to be matchup based, I imagine. Voss.
I think Marcus is, assuming he gets healthy and he has enough mobility in his shoulder joint to wrap up. I think he's going to be your nickel defender, but he's going to play the back end and push Hamilton down depending on the matchup. And I honestly wouldn't be opposed with you have Yassine and Darby playing at a very high level. It could also be you push Marlowe into the slot depending on matchup. They have a lot of options right now, and it's great to see.
It's funny. I was bringing this up. I freaked out all summer about cornerback because I don't like messing around at cornerback. Now it's like, our teams calling the Ravens about cornerbacks because we seem to have a lot of them. You know what I mean? We got Darby and Yassine on the bench, man. I mean, if you guys need a corner, you can call the Ravens. Joking.
We'll trade your Armour Davis for a fish. What do you guys? Who says no?
Hey, we got options, man. It just feels so good, and can't credit Mike McDonald enough because they're playing as a team, man. That's what I was saying at the very first words I said on the show is just the unselfishness. We saw it with Matabike setting up Pierce. We saw it with Van Noy. They're on the same page. We saw it with the DBs jumping the route, knowing that the blitz was going to get home. They're trusting each other, which is a big Ray Lewisism. Do your job, trust on each other. Making guys great players who on other teams are just a guy.
Yeah, just before I throw it to Yuri for this clip here, I wanted to highlight actually Geno Stone on our last play, and I forgot. You see him after the play, they're celebrating. A couple of years ago, before Lamar was really ingrained, we had a little time period in Baltimore where there wasn't a whole lot of that. They just didn't have a whole lot of swagger and personality, and I think that's what Terrell Suggs and all these guys from our past brought. I think Roquan, that's probably the intangible maybe from Roquan. But anyway, good to see. Yuri, throw of the week, Zay Flowers out route.
Yeah, so for a while, there was this narrative about Lamar Jackson being able to not accurately throw deep and outside the numbers. And I think that statistic in itself is a big timing, big in receivers that can even catch the football. Some receivers aren't even good with like mentally locating themselves on the field, and being a high IQ, being able to read, leverage. The Ravens really haven't had that. Like, I think Zay Flowers is probably the best receiver they had. I don't think that's too far off to say. I think he really does know how to read, leverage the defensive backs, and create separation. And this is an absolute rope from Lamar for throw of the week. I think there's so many other ones. There's the Odell Beckham throw where he threw it over someone's head and right over the defensive back's fingertips. There's another one is Zay Flowers. It's a deep in looking type of play, and he threw it over another linebacker's head. So a lot of really good throws this week from Lamar. He's been playing really lights out ever since the Steelers game, in my opinion, and even before that. But this is the throw we haven't seen at all in a while, at least.
So. Well, I'm going to correct you on that. I think we saw it in the Pittsburgh game for sure. I think we've seen this deep out route from Zay. I'm sure of it, Yuri, because it stuck out to me. I love this throw. I've been looking for someone to complete this throw with since the Derek Mason days. I mean, this is Joe Flacco type arm strength and Derek Mason like route running and quickness. And you add this aspect to the game, man, it's just one more thing that they have to defend. And this play is undefendable. If you get this is a longer version. This isn't a 10, 15 yard out route. Looks like it's pushing closer to 20. I mean, yeah, ball's on the 26. And let's see where Zay breaks here.
About the 40. Oh no,
Yes,
47.
dude, that's a 20. I mean, we were watching it with Mason at 10, 15 yards. That's close to a 20-yard out route. That's a big play on a basic out route. And wish Justice Hill would have done a little bit better job here and stuck with Hutchinson. I think that is rushing off the off of Morgan Moses there to give Lamar some more time. But that's an excellent play. I think that's a great sign for the future that we have a receiver that can run that kind of route. I mean, it's not a terrible job by the DB too. What do you want the DB to do there?
You know what? What did DeCosta say about 3 years ago? Indefensible. Took him a little while to get there, but he's going in that direction now. And then we have a little advanced scouting from Jerry. Digging the tape. We got a seed from Geno Smith coming up against the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, so defensively, the Cardinals that I was looking at yesterday, they are second in the league in quarters coverage. So maybe using this clip, not so much. I mean, this is an insane throw. And to me, and this is my opinion, I think, and this is almost like a advanced scouting, like looking ahead to the Seattle game and looking a little bit of the Cardinals game.
Look ahead spot.
Yeah. This is, the funny thing is, I think all of our clips that I've used in previews have been like two teams that one team we play next week, and then like the Titans game. So the Cleveland Titans one, I used that clip, and then we played them ensuing. So this is a really good throw, but just the overall point I wanted to toss here was that the Cardinals run the second most quarters coverage in the league, and they also sim, I think, the second most pressures in the league as well. So, kind of going back to Gannon at Philadelphia, he loves running quarters. He loves that quarter style defense, the match quarters, sometimes the drop off quarters, the soft quarters. It's got a little more soft quarters in my opinion. I think the only person who really runs hard quarters is Mike McDonald. Mike McDonald teaches some very hard quarters coverage principles in my opinion. So overall,
hard quarters.
Yeah. The
hard quarters reminds me of Ocean City on Senior Week.
Yes.
So, this was just. I think Lamar is going to have one of these type of throws in this game.
Great throw, questionable decision. I like to separate the two. I had a discussion with our buddy Ken McCusick on that Andrews throw in the back of the end zone. What was it, 2 weeks ago that went over three people, and Andrews was I can't stand. What a bad throw. I was like, it's a perfect throw. It's the decision. You got to separate the two. So Geno, he has another option here. It looks like if he just buys himself some time. I mean, there's a guy running wide open going the other way. First time I've seen this play, so I haven't completely broken it down, but he takes it the hard way. Yuri, what a throw. Arm talent. Geno's got it, man. Like he has got himself an arm.
He does. And I got into it a little bit. And I said that and Jared Goff makes some very tight window throws, but I don't think he makes them consistently enough. And I think Geno does. Geno is a crazy person. We've seen him make a couple throws like this. He made it last year to Lockett that I can remember off the top of my head. But I have seen other ones where Geno Smith will. I mean, it is questionable. Geno Smith does throw interceptions, but his interceptions, he really does go for it, in my opinion. Goff's interceptions are a little more like, what was that?
Yeah, I think Geno has a good size sack. I'm still holding out hope for my Seattle NFC West preseason prop. I think I was plus 350 or so. We'll see. We'll see if San Fran takes their third straight loss. We'll circle back to that in the upside of the week segment. Let's go here to the and also should mention Budda Baker has returned, so one of the better safeties in the league. So that certainly improves their prospects in Zona.
I love Garnett's comment here. If you put hellacious pressure on him, he will revert back to the old Geno. Garnett, I want to say I trust you on this one. I haven't seen much Seahawks, but that sounds right to me. I think that the Seahawks have a really good roster. I'm excited for this game. Don't want to look past this week, but I look at the Seattle roster before the season, Voss, and I was much like you. This is a sneaky good team. When you talk about good tackles, good offensive line, good receivers. One of those classic, it's all about the quarterback type teams. If Geno
Good
plays like he
corners
played,
too.
great
Yeah.
corners, man. I love Devin Witherspoon, spelled Devon but pronounced Devin. Love Devin Witherspoon. It's just a solid defense all the way across. I love the Seahawks. Can't wait to see what's going on with them because I like their roster a lot.
Yuri, pull us back to Arizona before we jump ahead a couple weeks on the preview.
Yeah, so this play was called back by a penalty, but just Dobbs, kind of highlighting Dobbs doesn't have a strong arm, and if you pressure Dobbs, he's probably going to make a mistake eventually. I guess to kind of like get into the whole like preview, we are kind of in the preview, but I like Michael Wilson for the Cardinals. I think he's a really good receiver. He's got 330 odd something receiving yards and 2 touchdowns this year, so he's playing well. Obviously I think the Ravens are just the more talented team Sunday and should have their way both offensively and defensively. But give credit to Dobbs. He was a backup quarterback to come in and get traded and then go out there and play the season. I think that that's not something you can do every day. But I just think that he does also have a little bit of running ability, but I just think that he's a backup and is kind of starting to show a little bit.
So we're going to see former Raven Tristan Colon this week at left guard, not at center. That's going to be a key matchup for us. One of the keys to me for Matabike's success is he has taken the Calais role of last year, and he probably should have gotten more of that last year, to be honest. I would have liked to seen Calais be the guy stuck at 3-tech, playing the run, playing the pass, and Matabike moved over some of these weaker left guards. Because if you look across the league, and we see it here in Baltimore, the Ravens offensive line has done fine. They've done a good job despite pieces moving in and out. You have McCary in there, Lele, things break down. When you got your starting five, it's a good line. Why? Because your best guard is at right guard in Kevin Zeitler, and you can get away with a John Simpson at left guard. So as it relates to Matabike, instead of him being stuck at 3-tech facing all these top right guards, we're moving him around. He's having a lot of success. Matabike versus Tristan Colon is a matchup that I love for the Ravens. It's just too much. Colon's an excellent, fundamentally sound player, but athletically, there's no contest. Now, this is what I wanted to ask you guys about this game. What scares me about this game against the Cardinals is that they will go full Steelers, what we saw last year. Mm-hmm. Remember, the Ravens beat the Steelers the first time they matched up. The last time they matched up, the Steelers ran for almost 200 yards. It was all power. It was all just, look, we're just going to run. We have no other chance to win but to just keep running and stick mm-hmm. with the run. And the one thing that this Cardinals team has done is run behind their right guard, Will Hernandez, and their first-round pick, Paris Johnson, on that right side, and just keep the sticks moving because that's really the only way I can see the Cardinals saying, hey, let's just try to keep this game close. Let's win time of possession. Let's force the Ravens into this base defense with Malik Harrison on the edge, say, and get them out of their nickel where they're really strong. So that's where I'll kick it to you guys. That's how I would attack it if I was the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to highlight the matchup, the Big Ten matchup of Ohio State versus Penn State, Owe versus Paris Johnson. I think that's a pretty big matchup right there. Obviously, you have Clowney and Van Noy all rotating. I think the Ravens. I see where you're getting at, but what the defensive line has shown me so far through the first 7 weeks is like, okay, if we can prevent Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and Ragnow having their way versus us, and some other good lines that we played. It just feels like a rookie and Hernandez, and to their credit, they have been able to run the ball decent. To the Cardinals' credit, but it's like you have Roquan Smith, you have Patrick Queen, you have the front up there. You have Michael Pierce, Travis Jones, who are all really good run defenders. It feels like the Ravens have so much good run defenders on the team. Broderick Washington, who they gave an extension to, another good run defender. So I just think it's tough for the Cardinals to try and have their way and try and run power to that side and just get away with it. And you also have good. I mean, like, who isn't a good run defender that's like starting for the Ravens right now? Like, you have maybe Brandon Stevens. Like, You have Marlon Humphrey who can run defend. You have
Stevens lays the wood. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Like I'm just trying to think of a name. Like Arthur Millette's good versus the run. Kyle Hampton's good for the run. Humphrey's good versus the run. I mean, maybe like one-armed Marcus Williams when he was in wasn't really good versus the run, but like everyone we have is good versus the run. Roquan Smith, like I can go on and on and on. I just like it's like their strength is also our super strength. Like we really are like.
Yeah.
And see, I don't see it as our super strength. I see stuffing the middle of the field as our super strength. But if you look at yards per attempt allowed on the edge, we're giving up big runs. And the Ravens are, I want to say, close to the bottom third of the league in yards per rush allowed. And a part of that is a function of, all right, we're going to sit in nickel, and we don't care if you get an extra, 0.3 yards per rush. We'll give up a big run here or there, but we'll be damned if we're going to, give it up in the red zone. And we lead the league in pass defense as far as yards per. Like we're only allowing, I think, like 4.5, 5 yards per pass attempt to the other team. So if I'm the Cardinals, though, I was just saying, I would test the edge. I would test the edge of this defense, try to get everybody condensed and bounce runs to the outside and see if you can, because there's really not a clear path to victory for the Cardinals in this game. They're going to have to run the ball. They cannot rely on Josh Dobbs slinging it around the yard and beat this defense. It just won't happen.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I think the run D, especially on the edge, has improved since Harrison has taken more snaps. Now you have Oweh, we play a 52% snap share last week. You expect that to ramp up a little bit. Jeremiah Moon was released or waived today. Hopefully he makes it back to the P squad. And Tavius Robinson was playing a lot of snaps about 2-3 weeks ago, and that's getting whittled down a little bit. Right. So I agree with that. I think if you stop the run, this is a relatively easy W. A couple macro level, points. Arizona has lost 4 straight games by more than 10 points, 10 or more. So that's a pretty good indication of where they sit in the NFL landscape. 29th ranked rush defense, 31st DVOA pass defense. And they're not very good at protecting the passer either. I think the Ravens really have the matchups to do whatever they really want to do. It's not you have to do this or you have to do this or here's a match. They have matchups everywhere. As Jason said, just you got to stop the run. That's really the only path.
Agree. And I wasn't trying to go against Yuri there as far as saying that, the Cardinals were going to slay us on the ground or anything. I'm just, I'm looking at this and trying to be balanced. And I'm like, well, if there's a path to victory for the Cardinals, it's to just keep this game close time of possession wise. And, if it's 3rd and 3 and you want to run the ball, and you're going for it on fourth down, and you want to run the ball, Michael Pierce playing like a monster this year, Travis Jones playing like a monster there. But yeah, we have given up some big runs on the edge, but Yuri's right, man. It's really going to be tough for the Cardinals to do anything offensively against this team. There's just Michael Wilson is a guy I liked in the draft, would have had him ranked higher if not for the just consistent injuries he had at Stanford. But he's a good receiver. Obviously, we know Marquise Brown well, but you're going to be hampered by the quarterback. And everything I've read, I don't think Kyler Murray is just going to come right back onto the field this week. So it's going to be Josh Dobbs again, it looks like.
3 weeks.
Definitely. And to me, I think the reason why, maybe it's putting a lot of faith in the player. I think the reason why those runs have bounced outside is because of the absence of Odafe Oweh. I really think he does have such an impact on run defense and setting the edge and forcing things to go back inside. So that's why I have such a belief that I think the Ravens really can do what they want in the run defense now that Odafe Oweh is back. But probably being biased, but to get into prediction here, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Ravens are going to win 31-6. I just really think that they are the better team, and it's just I just don't see a way where the Cardinals can go down the field and put up like 3 scores and score like 13 points. I just feel like that's just not happening. Maybe 31-9. Maybe they get 3 field goals, but maybe Hollywood Brown makes a couple of plays. Maybe he makes someone miss and or beat someone over the top and scores a touchdown. But I feel really good about this game.
Yeah. So the Ravens are favored by 9.5. Point total is 44. I am going to say Ravens 31, Arizona 13 is my score prediction. I think they keep it rolling. I don't think they have any answers for the Ravens offense. And I think actually 31-13 is closer than it actually is. As far as prop bets, I like the Ravens first possession to score a touchdown plus 180. I like OBJ over 34 yards. And I like Hollywood Brown revenge game under 51 yards. I think I think he's a good receiver. I think he's a top 30 receiver in the NFL, but I think the Ravens know his tendencies, and I think he's going to run into the same problem he had here, just not enough supporting help, allowing defenses to give him too much attention.
Yes, very well said. My score would be somewhere along the lines of where you guys are. I'd lean towards taking the under in this week because I think that the Cardinals are just going to have a hard time on offense, moving the ball on the Ravens. And then, if things don't go perfect for the Ravens in the red zone, there you go, Garnett. I'm seeing a lower scoring game, maybe kind of like the Tennessee game where the Ravens kick a couple of more field goals than you'd like them to see them. But the Cardinals are never really in this game. So maybe like a 31-9 or something like that. I would lean towards the unders in this game and the Ravens covering. So I imagine if you have a team where you're picking the point spread to be, the Ravens winning by 10, the Ravens winning by 12, you want to bump that line up a little bit and then take the under. Those things usually don't go together. Usually if a team is blowing another team out, the over is going to hit. So take a little bit off the under, take a little bit on the Ravens point spread. I think that you probably get some pretty good odds there. So yeah, like a under 43, but the Ravens winning by 12.
That's a sharp play for sure.
I could see something like the odds being like really good in that favor if you want to put down a little something on that. So yeah, man. Dobbs 3 picks, 38-10 Ravens. I like where Garnett's going here. I love, by the way, Garnett is my go-to guy when it comes to opening script in the first 15 plays. So I know that he is having a good time watching this Monken offense.
Absolutely. Let's transition to upset of the week quickly, Yuri. Knock that out, and then we'll wrap it up with a little trade deadline talk. Is that okay?
Yeah, so I was thinking I was between Washington this week and Pittsburgh.
You were looking at Washington? No way.
Look, I'm picking the same teams. Yeah, I'm alternating. I'm like 1 week it's Washington, the next is LA, and I just go back and forth between two. But I'm gonna go and go with Pittsburgh over the Jaguars. They're plus 140 something. Pittsburgh's starting to put it together. They're like playing sloppy football, and they're like it's kind of like in Mortal Kombat when Scorpion says get over here. Like they really aren't letting the other teams go. They aren't letting no one. I mean, the Ravens should have boat raced them, but they're not really letting anyone boat race them. And I asked an Eagles fan earlier, and making me in this decision, that the Eagles last year did split with Washington, and this maybe could be the last game potentially for Sam Howell or Ron Rivera. So kind of all the chips are on the table. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Pittsburgh one though.
There are no real upsets sticking out to me. I'm imagining the Giants are underdogs versus the Jets. And obviously they play in the same stadium. Right. I don't know, man. I'll give you
a couple.
Hey, how about tonight's game? It wouldn't shock me to see Tampa Bay beat a Buffalo team.
It wouldn't, but without no Vea, I think that hurts them. Tampa's a sneaky team.
It's a weird team, isn't it? Weird team.
I've been riding them, but then not want to ride them too hard kind of deal. They still have a lot of the pieces from that championship team. I'll give you a couple upsets. I like Green Bay +2 versus Minnesota at home, divisional game at home. You could tease that up through 7. I like that one. Cleveland +4 at Seattle. I think that defense travels. I do think that defense travels. But the one I do like, and probably not going to be too well received in Ravens flock, I like Cincy over San Fran. I really do. +3.5. San Fran off of 2 losses. They're banged up. Cincy, I think, matches up pretty well with their defense with a trio of receivers and a ball-out quick scheme. So I will make the Cincinnati Bengals my upset of the week. I hope not for Ravens' sake, but I do see that one probably coming out.
So, Voss, while you have it there, all three division opponents underdogs here with Cleveland and Seattle and Cincy and Pittsburgh and Jacksonville here.
Yeah, all three.
Yep.
Pitt, Yuri picked Pitt as his upset, so it's a tough division, man. I think it's probably the toughest division in the league. I would be. I don't know. You guys agree with that? Are there any other divisions that are better than our division? I don't think so.
The NFC West has two bottom feeder teams and two good teams, and AFC West is always hyped up every year, and it ends up being Kansas City and everybody else. So
I agree. I was looking at the AFC East before the season. I thought that they would be tough. I wasn't ready to write New England off, but with the way Mac Jones looks and then with everything that's going on with the Jets, AFC North definitely the toughest division to me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe New England gets it going here and stacks up another divisional win against Miami this week. We'll see. Anyway, look around the league is a good opportunity to talk into the trade deadline. NFL trades are exponentially multiplied in the last few years. Eric DeCosta's made 3 in 4 years. Ozzie Newsome made a few in his day. Who are we looking to acquire? What are we looking to pay for it? Make your case.
Okay, so I feel kind of passionately on this. So there's two ways I would go about it. The I would say less realistic option would be to trade for a guard, a long-term piece, an upgrade, a starter at guard, someone that you can rely on to replace John Simpson, to obviously upgrade that spot, but to also solve one more problem for next year, which is going to be a hole in the offensive line. What I think is the most feasible, the most reasonable thing to do would be to give up a day 3 pick, a 4th or a 5th rounder, to upgrade this running back room. And by upgrade, I don't even mean upgrade over Gus or Justice. I'm talking about Melvin Gordon. I think that we're one injury away from being the 2021 Ravens with Devontae Freeman's and Latavius Murray's and company leading this backfield. I just don't think that John Harbaugh trusts Justice Hill. We saw last year when Gus and JK were both hurting, it was Kenyon Drake time over Justice Hill. Keaton Mitchell, I would love to see him involved, but again, I'm not coaching the team. I have a hard time seeing Harbaugh trusting a rookie running back. So whether it's Derrick Henry or whether it's Michael Carter from the Jets, or whether I just want someone or Khalil Herbert from the Bears, a sneaky option who's been on IR, but third down back, a trustworthy back, ball security, that kind of thing. I think that that's the easiest way to upgrade, give insurance to this team without making a commitment to future years. We're going to need our draft picks. We're going to need first. We're going to need seconds. So with a blockbuster trade for a Danielle Hunter aside, I think giving up a 4th or a 5th for a running back would be the move that I see as most likely happening.
Definitely respect your take, Jason. I've been thinking about this a lot, discussing it with some folks earlier today on the Twitter app. I personally agree with you that the best way to upgrade the rushing offense, or at least, I'm going to put words in your mouth, but left guard and Onwenu from the Patriots, the former Michigan guard, he would be my target. He's expiring contract, probably can get him for a 5th or a 6th. I don't think a running back upgrade moves the needle very much. I'm not sure if the juice is worth the squeeze I think it's just a dependent position, and I understand the reason to go with some security, but I think there are still guys available. You can bring back Drake, you can bring back Gordon, you can go and get Lenny Fournette. The list of championship running backs it's not very impressive. A lot of teams that win the Super Bowl these days have cheap running backs. And just for reference, you brought up what was it, Devontae Freeman and Latavius Murray. In 2021, Freeman averaged 4.3 yards per carry. Murray averaged 4.2 yards per carry. Derrick Henry averaged 4.3 yards per carry that season. So just to exemplify that it is a dependent position. That being said, I would give up a sixth for Henry and a fifth for Saquon, and that's my top dollar. And before I have a couple targets on the defensive side too, but Yuri, chime in here.
Yeah, so I'm with Jason. I really would like a pair of quote unquote fresh legs in the running back room. We really are, and the kind of the whole trade deadline idea is, where are you one injury away from being really really worse off? And if they got injured at guard, like, you could probably stick Ben Cleveland in there and make it work, or something. You can make something work with guard, in my opinion. With edge, you could make it's almost like the sacks is like a culmination of the defense than it is getting the guys out there. So I'm gonna go with and he kind of reminds me a little bit. And we're talking about Super Bowl running backs. How about C.J. Anderson, the running back for the Broncos way back in 2015? We're gonna go ahead and steal another Broncos running back with Javonte Williams from North Carolina. I think that would really help us. He's really good in pass protection. He's a decent receiving back. And the biggest thing to me is he has another year on his contract next year and sets up the room a little bit. And he only has about 600 or so career carries from college to the NFL to this date, and that's very low. That is very, very low considering people like Saquon are at like 1,500 right now.
Where do you go to school?
North Carolina, buddy. North Carolina.
Yeah. Hey, and boss, I love this. I love the shots at Yuri, by the way, with the Commanders and the Sam Howell and the Javonte. He deserves it. He really deserves it. The Charlie Kolar, he needs to stop with basic clips on Charlie Kolar as well.
He looks good.
He looks great. He looks great. We just need to stop. But if I'm going to go in all seriousness with Voss, you mentioned what the Devontae Freeman. I don't have the stats offhand, but I trust you. What was it, 4.3 for Devontae?
The same Freeman. As Henry, same
right, yeah. Same as Henry, but
and he's better. I mean, obviously he's not the same player.
Yeah. What I was going to say is Gus was at 5 point something. It's relative. It's you're looking at, we gave up a lot of yards with these replacement level backs, retreads, and I just don't want to see it again. I want to see us get every yard that we can. Yeah, glazing needs to an end. It's not that I think that running back is the most important position. I just don't want to see Melvin Gordon with the ball in his hands in January. It comes down to that.
I get it, but I would personally push back on the what are you going to do if Gus gets hurt panic situation, because I think there are guys that you can get off the street that can produce. We've seen it so many years. As far as injury insurance depth, I would put running back 7th or 8th on a list of positions, because there are still some places. That's my personal opinion, but I respect your guys, and I won't be upset about it.
And I know
I don't want to get in a situation where they bring in Henry and then they're forced to feed Henry so that he can break off of something long in the fourth quarter, because that's really what he does. Or the second, he's a volume dependent, build up, and then he pops one. Anyway, let's flip it to the defensive side if you guys are ready. They got the big 4 apex potential, pass rushers. You have Chase Young, you have Brian Burns, you have Danielle Hunter, you have what's the other guy? Montez Sweat. So those are the big 4. I would love to add one more defender up front to just really, really just bring it all together. That cherry on top kind of, just make the defense ferocious. However, I wouldn't pay more than a 4th for any of them, because I do think that this team has what they need right now to dethrone Kansas City Chiefs. And my entire, philosophy is get a top 5 roster and then maintain it as long as you can. And I personally don't think they had a top 5 roster any of the last 10 years after going 5 straight years with a top 5 roster in Harbaugh's first 5. So to me, I would reserve the picks. I would reserve the cap space, and I would bring in Nanokam Suh on a cheap vet min deal to give you that last little squeeze of juice that lets Pierce stay fresh and lets Matabike not get overworked. That would be my move, but I certainly am open to arguments for paying up for one of these big name apex predators.
Jason?
Yeah, for me on defense, I'm trusting Mike McDonald here, and I feel like I know people don't want to hear about the cap and they don't want to hear about draft picks, but we're getting to a point here. I think that it may be in DaCosta's head that, if you're going to, we have like one big move is what I see coming up this next off season. So if you're going to give up like with Roquan last year, you're going to give up a second round pick and pay the guy. It has to be the right guy. It has to be the right guy. So we're going to need the cap space. We're going to need the draft picks. I'm kind of with Voss that if we make a move for a defensive player, I'm really not trying to give up anybody in the top 100 picks. This draft looks stacked. You look at your roster, and majority of it is made up of homegrown guys. So yeah, if we added Danielle Hunter or some kind of pass rusher, all right, that's fine. If that's going to be your one move and you're firing your bullet for next year, okay. But me personally, I kind of just look at the sum of the parts on this defense and say, look, all right, you can go ahead. Attrition's going to happen. You take away, the pass rush is fine. You take away a corner, the secondary is fine. We've seen safeties being taken away that we're fine there. I just don't want to. I know some fans kind of want to go all in and go for it on the defense, but I feel like I would kind of prefer an offensive piece over a defensive piece at this point.
Definitely. And looking ahead and the idea of giving up like a first round pick and plus for a Burns or whoever, you kind of want to keep the offense stacked to the deck. And you don't, in today's NFL, I don't think with all the changing parts we're going to have next offseason with the offense with Aguilar, Duve, and OBJ potentially gone, and Zeitler, who knows? Moses on the last year of his contract. We only have 2 running backs on the roster, so you still have to fill. There's a lot of spots, so you don't want to give up good capital on especially when you're so thin at wide receiver next year with only 3 guys. I just think a big move would be a bad idea, and I think a medium-sized move to give you a little insurance with maybe a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick. I think that's a good idea.
See, you explained it better than I did. That right there, all those needs right there. We're really going to need the cap space, and we're really going to need the draft capital. Like, man, doing something would be risky, and we better win that Super Bowl, Voss.
There's ways to do it. There's got $23 million right now in void year money deferred, but they can push that off for 2-3 years and they can keep going and going and going. But at some point you're chopping a year off, and I don't want to chop that year off before when you already have a top 5 roster. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Okay.
I like these guys. They're all great guys. I don't think they can necessarily afford another cornerstone contract. It's a double dip that kills them. You trade a premium pick, and then you have to pay the guy. You're essentially taking two $100 chips on the roulette table and putting them both on the same square. I don't necessarily want to do that. But anyway, before we wrap, just out of curiosity, because I'll be pretty content, if as long as he's not trading the top 100, if the cost doesn't trade the top 100 pick for a running back, I'll probably be pretty happy with anything he does. But if we had to choose between the 4, and let's assume cost is equal, Burns, Young, or Hunter, or Sweat, if you really like Sweat, who would you plant your flag in?
Cost is equal.
Cost is equal. On a rental mercenary, half a year deal.
Well, half a year deal, Danielle Hunter. If you're going to pay somebody for the future, I'm kind of a big believer in Brian Burns. I think he's getting lost in a mess down there. I think Carolina's a mess. There you go. Yeah, I forgot your Seminole guy, but Brian Burns is the real deal, and I think he will be for a long time. Whereas Danielle's kind of on the in this prime right now, heading towards the back half.
If cost is equal, I'm going to go Chase Young, just because of future prospects. I mean, I know cost is equal, so I shouldn't include this in my argument, but I'm going to anyway. Someone will give a decent contract to him if it's just a rental, and you'll get a comp pick back. Right. I think the other 3 you would pay, maybe not Hunter, but Sweat and Burns, you would 1,000% pay them.
Does something seem like off that you don't know about with Chase Young? Like, shouldn't he? I don't know what it is. I don't follow it that close, but it's like, I love Chase Young. What is with Chase Young? Like, what am I missing here?
I mean, injuries, he was defensive rookie of the year that first year. On his forced fumbles, he propelled them to the playoffs that first year. I don't know. I kind of feel like the personalities they have in the locker room now with Clowney, with Beckham, with Roquan, with Marlowe, with Lamar, I think they could probably pretty much get the best out of. They're back to where they were when we were growing up, Jason, where they kind of have those alpha dogs. And once you have a couple really, really big alpha dogs, you can bring in some alpha minus dogs, and those big alpha dogs keep them in line. That's how I see it.
That's right, man. I agree. And it's amazing, like Roquan, oh, well, we don't look as mean. We don't look as alpha-ish, all these things. Well, we certainly do with one man added to the group. It's amazing how that changes.
Yeah. I think that pretty much covers it, Sherry. What else? You guys want to have any final thoughts here before the deadline? I mean, this is like turning into a national holiday now, the NFL trade deadline.
No, I think we covered most of the trade deadline talk.
I feel really good. I just, who knows when I'll be back on again, but I really like the makeup of this team overall. This is one of those rare years where I feel like things are just, I don't know, things are set for us. I feel like from the intangibles to the tangibles, we saw in the preseason when Zay was sick and they had that open practice, OBJ's ramping up, Bateman's out, how Lamar had to rely on Andrews. And quite frankly, if they were live, a lot of those completions wouldn't have been completed. This offense is still a work in progress. So when I look at what Monken's able to do, the timing with Bateman, the timing with Odell, there was a reason why Nelson Aguilar arguably looked like our best receiver early. And that's because he was there with Lamar from training camp, and he's a veteran. Zay Flowers is a rookie. So I see the upside of this offense as tremendous, and that's part of the reason that when you talk about trade deadline stuff, I'll just take what we got on defense and Mike McDonald and make that work. If we're going to make a move, I would like to see it to be on offense to solidify this thing, to be able to put up points with the Chiefs and whoever else is going to be there, because it looks wide open in the AFC.
Very well said. Very well said. I think with that, Gary, this could be a special season. I hope we can parlay again, Jason. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Hey, also want to plug, I got some cut-ups of Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah, please.
Ronnie Stanley and Lamar's Day. And, feel free to subscribe on HuddleItUpFilms. And I appreciate everybody from Twitter joining us. Great to see Garnett and Alec in here, man. Love those guys to death. And I just really appreciate being on the show and being able to talk with you guys and catch up. I mean, I could go on and on when I'm with you guys. And I'll never win the positional value argument with Voss. I know that. But at least I was here to present my side of it.
You could try. Hey, we're here for dissenting opinions all day. HuddleItUpFilms must follow. One of the best analysts in the business and a tremendous asset to Ravens flock. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
Definitely. Appreciate you having you on. The only last thing I want to toss in, I forgot to throw in my Thursday night parlay because I am on a hot streak. I am 4 in a row right now. Last week I hit was 70+ yards with Christian Kirk, and he went for like 113. Live bet this now. Baker Mayfield to throw 300+ yards is plus 550. I'm going for it this week. I really am. I don't know if the game's playing right now. I haven't watched any of it. Probably is. He's probably thrown a pick and he probably looks terrible. But Baker Mayfield 300+ yards is my my prop of the week for Thursday night.
LFG.
All right. With that, appreciate everyone for joining, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.